Hi and welcome to my channel. This is Virginia and today I'm going to talk about the upcoming full moon in Aries on October 6th. But before I start, today's video is sponsored by my book. And this is a book about you. Here will go your name, your natal chart, the table of contents, an introduction, my bio, your natal chart, your numerology, then your lunar progressions, and then we have horoscope for a whole year. Other offers of my readings, my contact information, and that's it, folks. Contact me for your copy. So this full moon on October 6th is at 11:46 p.m. Eastern Time. Full moons are culminations or peak moments as the moon reaches fullness. So to understand what a full moon looks like, see the diagram in the upper right corner. A full moon is when the moon and the sun are opposed, so therefore you can also expect oppositions or confrontations. And finally releases due to either culminations like graduations, for example, or confrontations like divorces. So think of what happened 6 months ago with the new moon in Aries, which, by the way, it was an eclipse. And something that started then might come to a culmination or a release now. And because Aries is the sign of conflicts, this is another indication of terminations, as Aries is ruled by Mars, the cosmic warrior, and the planet that cuts. So the moon is emotions and instincts, and Aries is a fire sign, so it represents our impulse, and is opposed to the sun that represents our vitality and the way we shine in the world. Some of the Aries characteristics are strength, courage, energy, and vitality. And they are initiators, as this is cardinal energy, but the shadow side is that of confrontation, impulsiveness, impatience, and being self-centered or hot-tempered. Aries rules the first house of self, image, the body, and also the mask that we wear in the world, though Aries is unapologetically authentic. So the mask is not to deceive, but more for self-protection, like a shield. But with the sun in Libra, we seek harmony and balance, but the sun is in detriment because it has lost its dominance as the days get shorter. And when the sun is in Libra from the perspective of the earth is in Aries too from the perspective of the sun, what we call heliocentric astrology. So the earth is in a bellicose mood. And with both the earth and the moon ruled by Mars, and Mars now being in Scorpio, where it rules too, Mars is in power and strong. And this full moon happens in the second decan of Aries, which is ruled by the sun, and the sun would be exalted in Aries. So the moon is at the midpoint of the sign where the energy is fixed, just like Scorpio. So we might be fixed in our fight. Now the symbol of Mars is a spear and a shield, which are tools of war. The circle also represents the self and the arrow the fallow, implying desire and the reproductive force. And the arrow pointing upwards into the right points to forward movement and upward movement. And the circle of wholeness, infinity, and also the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its tail, represents the cycles that repeats themselves, and hopefully with each turn raising the vibration and going a step higher, like the warriors of light fighting the good fight. Now Mars, the ruler of this full moon, is in a quincunx with the full moon. And this is a very uncomfortable aspect because there's a blind spot as they have nothing in common. And the sun in Libra deals with contracts and deals with other people. So the moon is feeling hot temper and in the mood of terminating those deals or redefining the rules of engagement, but is not supported by Mars. The ruler is concerned with fighting other fights, for better and for worse. Now, because the moon is in a semi-square with Uranus, there's a surprise factor here, or there's a sudden or unexpected termination. And because it's semi-square with Juno, the asteroid of partnerships, this might pertain to that, but not just personal partnerships, but partnerships of all sorts. Now, the new moon is conjunct Ceres, the asteroid of harvest, and also the size of death and renewal, which represents the energy of the fall, but is separating, so we might have already cut our losses or take gains in a situation. And the moon is applying to Chiron, which means later on is going to conjunct the wounded healer in order to address our wounds. So this may be an emotional full moon. And Saturn, the planet of hard lessons in life, is in an aversion with Chiron. So another blind spot, ignoring our wounds. So we might not know why we hurt, as some of this might be unconscious. However, this release brings those issues up to the surface for us to deal with them. Saturn is also opposed Venus, limiting that which we want, but Saturn in evolutionary astrology is the big fat no that might be protecting you from that which you're not ready just yet. The good news is that the benefics are in a flow, bringing expansion and optimism, and even though Venus is in detriment because she's not getting what she wants, Jupiter exalted magnifies her blessings. Like the sun, you might not get what you want, but you might just get what you need. And because Jupiter is also in a trine with Saturn and the North Node, it supports expansion that is aligned with our mission. And yet, because it's also square Chiron, we are oversensitive and we might question the situation or ourselves. Now, with Mercury, the messenger in Scorpio, the sign of truth, communication can get shrewd and intense. And since Mercury is opposed Chiron, there's another indication for sensitivity, vulnerability, and self-doubt. And because it squares Pluto, there's another indication for intense conversations where issues of obsessiveness, jealousness, manipulation, or envy might pop up. And finally, there's a finger of God pointing to Mercury with a quincunx to Uranus and Neptune, where the message gets confusing and scattered, revealing unrealistic expectations. And finally, for the collective, with that ongoing grand sextile between the outer planets, we are in a very important time in history, a pivotal time that might usher conflicts that we have not experienced in our lifetimes yet. So my humble collaboration is to urge everyone not to take a stand or a side that might contribute to the divide, because that's how the ruling class divides and conquer and never lets a crisis go to waste. Let's awaken to the fact that we are all being played, and rest assured that the biggest fear of the ruling class everywhere in the world from all sides is the unification of the masses, because they can't be beat. And if we outnumber them, we can empower ourselves out of conditioning and enslavement through debt and energy dependence. And if you don't understand what I mean, I highly recommend a documentary called Thrive, which was deemed the best documentary of 2012, and you can get for free in the site freetothrive.com. So the personal planets are moving fast, and that's what affects us individually the most, and we might feel like buckle up, but it's a sign that we're moving forward. Now for the collective, everything is backwards, removing the skeletons from the closet. Pluto, the transformation planet in Aquarius, the sign of the collective, is out of bounds by a couple of minutes. So it's out of the domains of the sun, meaning that the collective is not that easily manipulated any longer, and is pushing the limits and coloring beyond the edge, demonstrating its power, which is a good thing. The overall scoring of this full moon is -1, which is not terrible, and the most empowered planets are Mars, the ruler of it, and Jupiter, that magnifies everything. But we have a balance of the positive benefic and the negative malefic energies. On the right side, we see that Mars is conjunct a fixed star that I don't know how to pronounce, but it portrays the foot of a guardian dog, which guards prosperity, consciousness, and growth at the expense of tough love. And below, we can see how Neptune, the planet of confusion, is at the midpoint of this full moon, and the North Node, besides being at the midpoint of the outer planets, which is what the apex of a grand sextile is. And Chiron, the wound, is at the midpoint of Uranus, the planet of surprises, and the North Node, where we're heading. So we're due for some kind of surprise event that might trigger our sensitivity and generate a lot of confusion. And for the US, this full moon illuminates the fourth house of homeland and is square the seventh house of allies and enemies alike. And other countries have been taking advantage of the chaotic situation at the border, anywhere from sending the people they want to get rid of, like prisoners, to strategic people they want to be operating from within to gather data and beyond. And Mars in Scorpio is very strategic, like Cold War vibe. And we see the Department of Defense now changing to the Department of War. And because Mars is in the 11th house of the collective and is also rules resources from the government, this represents on one hand the collective fighting and on the other hand economical warfare, because this is trying in the 7th house of others, where economical measures may be used as leverage instead of kinetic war, which would be beneficial and supported by that Jupiter exalted in the 7th of others. Now, with Mars in Scorpio in the 11th house, this is also in line with going back to the male standards for combat roles in the military and the top generals meeting in Quantico. Now, Mercury in Scorpio in the 10th house is skeletons that are coming out of the government's closets. And with the outer planets retrograde, this is about things that happened in the past. So there's a lot of things coming to light and more to come. And with Venus afflicted in Virgo with the South Node in the 9th house of foreign matters, this is like damage control. And Trans-Pluto with Regulus in Virgo and Black Moon Lily in Leo in the 8th house of secrets, there are more scandals being revealed related to celebrity, sexuality, and minors. And now we have Ray J claims on Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner that are being investigated for the same crime as Diddy. And on the background, we have the same ongoing aspects that I went over previous videos, and I don't want to repeat myself, so you can check those out, especially the eclipse videos and mainly the last one, which is overlapping with the equinox energy. To wrap up, the eclipse degree is on 14 degrees 8 minutes. 14 is a Taurus degree, so this has to do with possession and resources, and the net number is 5, which is a Mercury degree, the merchant planet of transactions, communications, and tech. So this would be in line with economical transformation that is happening with Pluto in the 2nd house of the US. And 8 minutes is a Saturn number, which refers to limitations imposed from the government and the system structures. For the Sabian symbol, we round up to 15 degrees Aries and is represented by an Indian waving a blanket. The symbolic meaning is that it tempers the Aries fires and the impulsive energy with the need for structure and careful work, where the initiative must be guided into form serving a function, like weaving threads of a blanket. The shadow side is entanglement through repetitive patterns that get caught in cycles endlessly without meaning or growth, like escapism, in order to avoid true creation and integration of all parts. The corresponding tarot card for the second decan of Aries is the Three of Wands, which represents foresight, expansion, vision, enterprise, and opportunities, where the steady sunlight stabilizes the fire of Aries in order to give direction and purpose. The shadow side is overextension, arrogance, restlessness, impatience, and overconfidence that ignores practicality. 3 good edible herbs to tonify the fission fire energy are ginger to stimulate circulation, garlic, which is warming and protective, and rosemary, which is actually ruled by the sun. The sun is exalted in Aries and is stimulating like Mars. And 3 good crystals to work with are on the red tones, and we had bloodstone for strengthening and purifying the blood, red jasper, which is grounding and supports steadiness, and finally carnelian, which aids in courage and vitality. Now, this full moon will affect more cardinal signs like Aries and Libra, Cancer and Capricorn, and will be most beneficial to other fire signs like Leo and Sagittarius. Now I'm going to go sign by sign, and for a more complete picture, check both your sun sign, which is more the outer manifestation of this energy, your moon sign, which is more the inner manifestation of the energy, and if you know your rising, which pretty much determines your whole chart. So for Aries, this full moon happens in your first house of self. So this represents you, your identity, the way you look. So anything that no longer works for you, you're going to say bye-bye and you're going to reinvent yourself. And probably you're going to let go of something that you tried 6 months ago and might not work. For Taurus, this is in your 12th house of spirituality, mental health, and self-undoing. So you might want to leave a whole habit behind, something that has not been working out for you and that it has been taking a toll. This could probably be a self-limiting belief system, fears, skeletons in the closet, anything that you want to get rid of in order to benefit your health, your mental health, and your spiritual life. For Gemini, this is in your 11th house of groups and association. So you might be done with a group or with some kind of activity related with your community or with other people. Something that no longer works for you, you might want to let go of in order to favor your creativity, your hobbies, and basically the way you have fun. For Cancer, this full moon falls in your 10th house of career and reputation. So you're either terminating with some kind of position and moving on to the next, either doing a sideways movement in a company, or you want to get a promotion, letting go of the old role that you had in your work environment, or you might want to change your reputation, or you might even want to consider changing your industry. For Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this full moon falls in your 9th house of expansion, so you're letting go of any limitations that does not allow you to expand the way you want. And you might want to rethink your role in the world and what you can do. You might be terminating with a higher education program, or you might be done writing a book and ready to publish. Or if your job implies you traveling abroad, you might want to stay local. For Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 8th house of trust, intimacy, and shared resources. So you're either letting go of shared resources with an ex by splitting them, or you're terminating some kind of loan by paying it off. Alternatively, you might want to let go of trust or intimacy with a significant other if they betray you. Or on the opposite, you might want to let go of intimacy issues that they don't allow you to trust your partner. For Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 7th house of significant others and partnerships and also legal issues. You might want to let go of someone or something that has to do with some kind of agreement with another party, that being personal or professional. For Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 6th house of health, routine, and work. So you might want to let go of an old habit that is not serving your health, or you might want to shake up your routine in order to be more proactive, or you might want to streamline your line of work. For Sag, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 5th house of creativity, recreation, and procreation. So anywhere from creative projects to dating, having fun, or even having kids. Alternatively, a kid might have left the house and now you have time for a hobby, or you might want to let go of an old flame to check your options. For Cap, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 4th house of privacy, family, real estate, and even upbringing. So you might want to let go of all family dynamics or a living situation with someone that you're not compatible, or you might want to sell real estate or relocate. For Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 3rd house of communication, so you might want to let go of the way you communicate, especially with peers, or you might want to let go of playing small in order to play it big, or you might be rethinking of your role in the world. Alternatively, you might be wrapping up some educational program and be ready for the next step. And for Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this happens in your 2nd house of values, self-worth, income, and resources. So either you're letting go of an income stream, or you're letting go of an old self-limiting belief, or you might be letting go of something that used to be valuable for you but is no longer important. With that, I will leave you today. Where I can help you the most is with a private reading, so go to astrologybyvirginia.com. Let me know how this full moon plays out for you, and please like, share, subscribe. It just takes a second to do so, and it means the world to me. It pays back for my work. Thank you for your time. See you in the next one.